Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. I felt as if the whole universe had fallen over my head when I was told that I had monkeypox. These are the words of a female patient under treatment in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The World Health Organization says its Director General has determined that the upsurge of mpox in DR Congo and a growing number of countries in Africa constitutes a public health emergency of international concern under international health regulations. The World Health Organization further says cases have been detected in 13 African countries, in Sweden, in Pakistan, and in the Philippines. The World Health Organization says two distinct clades of the monkeypox virus have been identified, clade 1 and clade 2. Let's talk about what's the version of the health ministry here in Pakistan. It says one case of the mpox virus has been detected in Pakistan of the clade 2 variety, with the spokesperson of the ministry adding, let me quote him, "As of now, there have been no reported cases of clade 1 in Pakistan." Earlier we saw Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif ordered effective screening at all airports, seaports and borders and asked the border health services to maintain comprehensive surveillance regarding this particular viral disease. In today's program, we are going to understand what this mpox is, what are its symptoms, how it is detected, treated and cured, how lethal it is there a vaccine available for it, and what public health emergency of international concern means, how is it different from a pandemic, and what sort of implications this declaration by the WHO will have. Also, how concerned Pakistani public and the authorities should be, and what preventive measures must be taken to avoid any spread of this particular viral disease. And last but not the least, how crucial is the public awareness in this particular regard. Let me quickly bring in, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Professor Aisha Ihsani Majid. She is public health specialist, has a PhD in public health. Professor Aisha, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. Also in the studio, we are honored to have been joined by Professor Zafar Khan Shinwari, Vice Chancellor of Federal Urdu University of Arts, Science and Technology, is a member Technical Advisory Group of the World Health Organization. Professor Shinwari, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on the show tonight. We really appreciate that.
17,000 cases, 500 deaths, but because the 1B has been detected in Europe, the 4 cases, hence the emergency, answering your question. That's the reason why. The 1B, the lethal variant, across the continent in Europe. That's why the WHO.
Okay, I'll come back to you to take your deeper understanding regarding certain other various aspects of it. Professor Shinwari, when we talk about, Dr. Akhtar already talked about, when a person contracts this particular disease, for 2 to 4 days, he has got the fever and the symptoms like flu, and after that particular period, those lesions start appearing. So, how would a patient come to know that he has contracted this particular virus until those lesions appear on his skin?
Yeah, and that is the difficult part of it. It's not 2 to 3 days, the incubation period, what we call it, when you contract some disease and when you know it, you have it. The period is, in this case, is sometimes from 1 week to 3 weeks. And that's why a bit worrying for the people, because at airport, at the things, people may not be knowing that I have already contracted it, because it takes time that rashes appears. So, and then that rashes too are sometimes similar with some of the other, diseases like chickenpox, etc.
Okay.
So that's why in this case, the emergency in a way that if you want to isolate people, quarantine them, you have to know that they have this one which is infectious, which can be spread. The good thing of this is so far is it's not airborne.
Okay.
It is that if you touch, if you somehow come in contact, close contact with the infected either patient or animal, you may get it. But it's not that in certain cases, like in corona, we had airborne. When you are in close contact of 10 meters, sometimes you would get it because of the air that it carries it. But in this case, we are a bit safe in a way that if you know it, then you can quarantine and the other can be safe, because you have to avoid touching and the clothes, etc., etc. But the difficult part of it is at the airport, at the bus stations, you may not be knowing that you have it. You may have some, and the fever is not also that high. It is 101 and something like that.
Okay.
So sometimes people don't know it. They may be thinking they are fatigued, they are tired, they are traveling, so that's why they are having. But in fact, they may have contacted it.
So in that case, when we talk about thermal screening at the airports or seaports or border areas, do you think that could be effective?
That may be 50-50, to be very candid.
So okay,
because,
if somebody, here's the scenario: if somebody is through thermal screening is detected that he's got some fever around 100 or 101, around. Okay, so does it become incumbent upon the authorities at that particular moment in order to take that patient aside or go for further tests? Are there any tests that can be done immediately?
One is the test. The other thing is through the media. Another thing that we have to create, awareness among the masses that you are the person who shall be knowing that I am having this fever because this is very visible that you came in contact with some people who had this disease, and that disease is very obvious through the skin and other things. So that is the responsibility of the individual mainly. If he has some kind of a fear, that he comes forward and saying that I am having it, please have a check on me. Rather than if you check everybody, the chances are a bit low to identify, because as I said, the incubation period is sometimes up to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And that's why that you may be in a difficult position to identify a patient whether he has it or not.
Shinwari, when you talk of the responsibility of every person at an individual level, let me once again quote that sentence by a female patient under treatment in DR Congo. I felt as if the whole universe had fallen on my head when I was told I had monkeypox. I mean, this is such a strong expression that the whole universe has fallen over your head. It means there is something really serious about this disease.
The serious thing,
I mean, if somebody is having flu-like symptoms, why would he consider at the very first place that this particular disease he has contracted or she has contracted?
Yeah, the problem is specifically, imagine she is a lady. Imagine that she is having the skin problems with all that. So there is a psychological kind of, they are very expert in this. But my point of view is as not a gender bias, but when she contacted, she will have all those rashes, and she may be having fears that it may not disappear all the scars that I have on my skin and on my body. So that's why she thought that now, in a young lady having this in a young age, maybe having those kind of frustration and feelings.
It's just because of that.
That may be the
outlook.
Is it just
because of
the fertility rate is not that high?
Okay, so
the period is not that long for bearing this disease.
So if a man contracts this virus, so this expression wouldn't be from him. That's what you imply.
I should not be saying that.
Okay. So
and also, but just for my curiosity.
The disease, this is not a gender-specific disease. We should be clear on that.
It can go to anybody.
Yeah. Okay. So Professor, towards Professor Shinwari. Professor Shinwari, already a number of measures have been discussed as far as the prevention from this particular viral disease is concerned. What about vaccination? Are specific to this disease vaccinations available?
If you talk about the poor countries, unfortunately, what I studied or what I tried to find it out, it's a poor man disease. It was a poor man disease.
Okay.
Now it's coming to the developed world, so that's why everybody is conscious, and they are trying to have it. And now with the technology, we can quickly will have it. But still, like in Pakistan, we don't have any vaccine available for monkeypox. Secondly, earlier we were talking about...
In Pakistan, we don't have it. But
we don't have vaccine for monkeypox.
What about
we have diagnostics. We can identify it. We can know it.
Okay.
But the first I would call it, we don't need it even. To be very candid, a message that through media we go, so that we should not be, having a message of worrying too much or, have an anxiety, stigma.
Keeping Pakistan for a moment aside. When the WHO talks about this disease as a public health emergency of international concern, the question is, does a vaccine for this particular disease already exist? Because it was first detected back in 1958 and then in humans in 1970, so it's quite a considerable span of time. So during this time, was a vaccine made for this particular disease? Does it exist globally or not?
Not. If I say globally, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist. You may be correcting me if I say it's not exist. And the reason was, let's talk about the intellectual property rights and all this. For poor man disease, usually the developed world doesn't do that much work as they do it for the diseases that are common in the developed world. For the developing country, they don't have those luxuries or facilities to work on that. So that is one. That's why when I say it's not available, it's
there
not
are multiple
available
media
for a
reports
common
that
man.
suggest that the vaccines which were made for smallpox have been used against this particular disease with almost 85% success rate.
Yes, yes.
Am I correct on
yes,
that?
that is for monkeypox.
So if it is 85% effective, so naturally we would understand there is already a vaccine available for this disease also. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, but they will be working with
please go ahead,
Yes.
Professor.
Yes, there is a vaccine.
Professor, Global Health Strategist and Implementers, Adjunct Professor, Epidemiology, University of Nebraska. Thank you very much for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. And in the studio, we were joined by Professor Aisha Isani Majid, Public Health Specialist, having PhD in Public Health. Thank you very much for your time. Professor Zabta Khan Shinwari, Vice Chancellor of Urdu University of Arts, Science and Technology, also member of the Technical Advisory Group of World Health Organization. Professor Shinwari, thank you very much for your time. Also, and Dr. Hassan Uruj, former Director General at Health Services Islamabad Region MCI. Thank you very much for your time also, for being with us on the show tonight. Really appreciate that. With that, we come to the end of today's episode. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.